Thanks for joining us this week on the Elite Live Q&A. I'm Albert. I'm actually guest hosting for John, who just gave birth to his second baby, Kelly. So congratulations to John and Rith, and Ellie's got a little sister now.
Yeah.
And then we got Joanne Rosales here, our head of contracting and recruiting.
Hi, everybody.
So we wanted to get started. We had a couple questions from a few people that were in the hopper. So whenever you guys are ready, fire away.
John, you were mentioning that Esther had issues with her NLC currently, or?
Yeah, so as an ongoing thing for any managers or anybody recruiting, it's very important right now until they fix that technical issue that if you use a different email that's not attached to the same one you use for your NIPR, it's not seeing that. So the current issue with Esther, when I went on the Zoom call with her, I noticed it's stating that her license is not active. So that's what's happening. It's not allowing her to see and request a state and request a product. So she's stuck at that part where it says click request and click to add a state. And it doesn't look like her Texas state license is active.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think if Esther was onboarded after July, right?
I believe so. She already has her Edna. She already has her like MM and other things. She just can't request America.
Yeah, so I know she sent me over her license for Texas. But right now with NLC, she's not the only one that we're having issues with. I have another one of our new agents also who's also having the same issue. So it's a glitch in NLC side. But for the most part, kind of like what you're saying is it's true. NIPR's information needs to be, whatever agents are inputting in HCMS and in NLC needs to be identical as to what is in NIPR. And if any of the information needs to be changed on any of the platforms, then that information gets changed on the NIPR site. So that can probably be where like the mishap is, where there's like two different information. And so when NLC is verifying that information with NIPR, it's coming back like it's not matching. But for her, I did send over like her license and everything to support. So I'm just waiting on them to figure out a way to have her states populate. But it's unfortunate and it really sucks. For now, I'm just kind of waiting on support to be able to get her through to be able to contract with NLC.
So just the name or something didn't match up?
Well, what he's saying is that she entered two different emails. So even the email, when it comes down to like your contact information, your email address, your name, your phone number, I said your address. If I didn't say address, well, your address, your mailing address, your business address, all of that stuff, we're unable to edit it on HCMS now. So all of that information needs to be edited on an NIPR. And so when new agents are inputting their new information on these platforms, everything just needs to be identical. Same thing with SureLC. So if agents are putting in another name or another phone number, another email in SureLC also, it'll also flag it. So everything just pretty much needs to be the same.
Yeah, so the biggest thing is for agents, especially if you're a new agent, you have that same issue. Remember, there's two platforms right now. There's the SureLC and the NLC, and some carriers will come in sooner or later. And more importantly, if you have Prosperity, which is one of our 100% bonusable carriers, you can start writing business within a day or two. So don't let this hold you back. You just can't use America for now, but keep it simple. You know, you buy leads, you book appointments. And as that comes in, you get to add more carriers available for you. So just focus on what you have and continue to write.
Yeah, and then also keep in mind that once the issue gets resolved, your America writing number will be issued within 24 hours. So it shouldn't really be something that's holding back the agents to be able to get out there and write business, because you guys should have Prosperity. Prosperity issues your writing numbers really fast within like 24 hours. And then their underwriting is really easy also. So I mean, there are other options out there. There's also, which other ones are using? AIG, which is really good as well. So, I mean, you guys have options where if your Americo is being held up or any other contract, then let's just try to move on with the rest of them and come back to that one carrier when everything is pretty much set up for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think I personally had this problem when I first started too, where you put too much stock into thinking that I need to have everything set up so I can just run without distraction. When in reality, you're always going to have distraction when it comes to this business.
Yeah.
The thing is, you're going to be learning and experiencing different things. New things are becoming your way. You won't know how to handle all these situations until you actually just start doing it. And you're probably going to make some mistakes, which is perfectly fine because, like, I've gotten as far as I have from making a ton of mistakes. I learned from some of those mistakes. I taught Joanne, parts of contracting. She had to take it from there, and then she made a bunch of mistakes, and she's learned from those. I mean, like, it's all part of the process. So don't worry about, I have to know everything before I can move forward. Just focus on using whatever you have, which Prosperity contracts within a day or two. And, so that's super easy. So just start writing with them. Or, we just had Jack on here last week. He talked about their final expense policy, their prime term, which is almost like a guarantee issue, not quite, but pretty close. There's a lot of benefits to using that. And if you guys have specific questions about that, feel free to reach out to one of us or to your upline. We also have a term policy with them. So, I mean, they're good to go with whatever you need to write up, up front. As far as everything else, when they start falling into place, then you have an opportunity to use them. But this is actually a good opportunity for us to talk about a couple of recent changes too. We'll talk about this Thursday on our team call, but with Prosperity, as we just mentioned, that's probably one of the first ones that you want to go with. Americo obviously is another one, but there's a little bit of an issue for certain people with the NLC contracting platform right now. If things didn't quite match up, but we'll get that resolved. So you can use those two. AIG also came out with a simplified issue whole life policy. So then, they've worked on their contracting. So they've created more levels, and that was one of the holdups before. So now that we're getting those three squared away, those are the three carriers that you want to focus on when you're brand new. Even if you're not brand new, if you're not running that much business, focus on those three. Even if you're running a decent amount of business, focus on those three. It's Americo, Prosperity, AIG. Okay, now we used to focus a lot more on Aetna, but that's no longer bonusable to 100% for VP bonuses. Which if you guys are new, it may not apply too much to you right now, but if you're looking to eventually build a team, that's going to be relevant. But the reason why I'm stressing these three right now, even if building a team is not your main priority at the moment, which isn't always necessarily true. I came in, my first and only priority was to build the team. But if that's not your primary focus, the thing is, it still is important to focus on these three. Number one, there's a lot of advantages to using the three, but also from a practical standpoint, if you just focus on three carriers, the thing is, training will be so much easier because you don't get overwhelmed by, how does this application work? What's the website for this? What's where do I go? What happens when this pops up on the e-app? All these practical questions. As far as underwriting, you'll get so much more familiar just focusing on three. So it's like the whole in and out menu type of concept. Just keep it simple, just make it really good, and just use those. So if you can do that, I mean, you'll simplify things for yourself. You'll most likely have a lot more experience that you can build up quicker. That's going to be applicable to you understanding your business. And on top of that, on the back end of this, and maybe some of you guys are not at that point yet, but managing your business will be so much easier because Americo's guaranteed. It's a instant decision, every single one. Prosperity's instant decision on a lot of them, and then AIG's instant decision on all of them too. So there's no additional follow-up. With some of these other carriers, I mean, we love them. They're good. They're really good business partners. But the thing is, some of them, they go to, they're waiting a decision. So then you tell the client, hey, everything's been submitted. Hopefully you'll be covered. And then you got checked back in a couple days or a week. And then turns out that something came up, they don't get approved. So, you got to go back. You got to go back and tell the client, hey, by the way, you didn't get qualified for this. Let's try this one. Let's try that one. And sometimes for clients, like, they don't want to give it a second shot because, they don't like that sense of rejection. So if you can eliminate all those variables yourself, that's the ideal situation. So for all those reasons, I'm imploring you as a new agent or as an agent that wants to, improve their business, let's focus on those three. If I were a brand new agent, that's all I would be focusing on.
Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, just based on like what I've experienced with our new agents, I want to say since I've been here, majority of our new agents don't really use their full portfolio. Like they don't use all the additional carriers that they request sometimes. So it makes total sense that they would submit only the ones that they have available in their SureLC already.
Right.
Like everything's just pretty much set up in an easy manner for them to have those carriers available.
And then let me tell you guys this too. I mean, maybe this analogy kind of helps. Like I pay my mom's bills now. so the thing is, like, my mom loves like racking up like, cashback rewards and points and all this other stuff. So she's got like, I don't know, like 15 credit cards. Right? And the thing is, like, she'll go and fill up on gas. She'll spend a little bit on this one. She'll go and buy something on this one. She spends it on this one. And then she goes into, she's just like, swiping, like, they're not big amounts, but she's swiping like little bits on like all these different cards. And then she's like, and then the bill comes, she goes, hey, can you help me pay this? And I'm like, yeah, no problem. I don't mind paying it. But the thing is, I'm like, but why do I need to make like 7 to 10 transactions payments like each time? I'm like, why don't you spend it all in one?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't understand. And then, so it's just for your own sanity, to keep to do your time management, for you to just keep things like simple. Like, think about how much less mentally you got to manage if you just have a couple, like maybe 2 or 3,
Yeah.
and just focus on
And
those
then not
things.
only that, but like it makes it a lot easier for anybody if like they get instant decisions and they don't have to go back and check, and they don't have to go back and do paperwork or
Right.
any of that stuff. Like you just know if your client is approved there on the spot.
Yeah. And the
Then you move
clients love
on.
that. The clients
Yeah.
love that, because we used to work at this other company, and then we submit we read our applications, which are paper applications, and then they switch to e-app. But even then, you submit all your business on the following Monday, and then you get a report that following Thursday or Friday, and then you get paid that following Friday. But the thing is, it's still an underwriting, and then sometimes those sit in there for weeks, if not maybe a couple months before it completes.
Yeah.
So the thing is, that policy could still fall off, and whatever you've been advanced, you get charged back on later anyway. So wouldn't it be better for everybody to know? And the clients, I'm telling you, the clients, like, that relief of just knowing, okay, I don't need to do anything else.
Yeah.
I just want the
They've been approved.
simplicity. I've been approved already. And even if you get an instant decision and they didn't get approved, you can pivot right there on the spot.
Yeah.
For the other carriers, if you're using it to go to decision, you got to sit around and wait. It's tougher. It's just more work for you to follow up on. So keep it simple for yourselves. The clients will definitely appreciate it, because it's not even always about the price. A lot of clients, they just didn't want to deal with sitting around waiting and seeing if they get approved anyway.
Yeah.
Hope that helps it. Anyone else with any question? Or John, did that address everything?
Yeah, so keep it simple. Just to add to the AIG new product, if you guys are running into a situation, this is the only other way that you can get around it. Most simplified issue runs MIB, okay? And so if there's an MIB hit, if a client has been declined before, what's great about the new SIWL with AIG, it doesn't run MIB. So if you have an Americo, even though they should be qualified, but they have an MIB hit, it's an auto decline. Same thing with Prosperity, it'll say it'll send to underwriting because they can't get a read because there's an MIB hit. That's when you could use AIG simplified issue whole life and it'll approve. So with the 3 main carriers, you won't have any like doubt of getting the client approved, because worst case scenario with AIG, if you can't get them to SIWL, then you can get the GIWL. They get graded whole life, guaranteed issue whole life. So you're set.
Yeah, and as of right now, AIG, that's a great point. We're going to use them whenever possible. So we're still going to stick with Americo and Prosperity first of all, because for you agents, you get a 10% bonus every quarter, every 6 months. AIG currently doesn't offer that, but the thing is, if they're one of our favorite 3, one of our preferred 3, and then they see how profitable, how much volume they're getting for Americo and Prosperity, and they want to be part of that, maybe they might offer it. I mean, I'm not obviously I'm not making any claims for that. That's between Sean, Mike, and dealing with the carriers. But I mean, hey, it never hurts to have negotiation power.
So yeah, so we'll open it up for more questions. Anybody else have any questions? Anything that's going on in your mind, the field, the products, anything else? Go ahead and the floor is open. Francisco, Esther, Emma, Patricia, any questions?
Not at the moment. I pretty much understood. Just use the carriers you have
Mhm.
and not procrastinate or wait around for the other carriers to come in.
Yeah. What do you think your current challenges are right now?
Everybody has writing numbers.
I would say being comfortable on the phones for a long time. You know,
What do you think Donnie does? Like, does he give you any advice on that?
he said just like stretch or take a break or try something different and then come back on the phone.
Okay. So when you say consider a long time, think of it like your working muscle, right? If you
Mhm.
were to just start running today, how long do you think you can run? And how long do you think you'll last?
Like on the phone or like a combination of the fields?
No,
'Cause
no,
I was
just like like it's just my analogy of you going on a run, going on
Like a
a long
physical run.
distance run,
Yeah.
physical running. Like if you ran on a track, how long do you
Oh.
think you will last? Right?
Not very good right now because
Okay.
I haven't, been
Right. So that's what I'm just
conditioning my
using.
body. Mm-hmm.
So you have a work muscle. You got to condition your work muscle in the same method. Okay. So start with 1 hour. Okay.
Okay.
Last the hour without a break. So you got to create small objectives. Because if you feel like mentally you just started and thinking like, okay, I just jumped on a marathon and it's 6 hours, 8 hours. It's a phone dial marathon, which is the same in our business, right?
Correct.
If you are
Mhm.
not thinking about what's happening in the zone, you're thinking outside the zone. Like, I can't wait to finish. You're mentally being defeated already because now you're dragging your feet on there. So you got to have a mental like edge, a competition. Your first question is, how do I make this fun so it's not a dread? Okay. So think about it where you're breaking it up. Okay. If I'm going to do 8 hours of dials, okay, let's start with the first four. Let's start with the first hour. Let's see how many appointments, let's see how many clients I could talk to the first hour. Okay. Let me beat that in the next hour. So you got to have little games inside so you can enjoy
Okay.
it. Okay, so the more you're focused on something else, you're not focusing on the time. So you're now not thinking mentally of like, this is me calling for a long period of time.
Correct.
You know, that mind state, it's subjective. You don't know what long is. You know, like when you go to sleep, how long is a good sleep? You don't know until you wake up, right? Because you're just sleeping. So
Yeah.
same thing. If you're busy, you're productive, time will pass. So try to get something where you're feeling productive, if that helps.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. Because I was telling Donnie maybe I can like door knock and call at the same time so I feel like I'm doing something. But he's like, you need to try to call and book appointments because then you won't get you'll drive around, waste gas sometimes if you don't have any appointments set.
Yeah, break it up into intervals. But yeah, Francisco actually he asked a question earlier.
He asked a question earlier. I wanted to ask if any of you guys ever just get the leads and go straight to the houses, without calling them, without setting appointments. I used to do that a long time ago. They were TV leads. People would call in on a commercial, ask for the info. I would get the lead card, and then I would just show up, and if they were there, they would just let me in their house. I would show them the lead card and just go in and do the presentation. So that's what I wanted to ask, if anybody out there just does that without setting appointments.
Cool. So thanks for your question. Actually, I think the reason why, he texted me this earlier and I was like, hop on the Q&A and ask us in person, because I'm sure other people have the same question. But it kind of goes along with Esther's line of thinking as well. I mean, I think part of the reason why people door knock is for a couple different reasons. It's effective for one. Certain people that you can never reach by the phone because sometimes people just never pick up a phone number they don't recognize. It's effective. You can show up to the door and you can just knock on the door and be like, hey, you fill this out. They dispatched me out here, and you set up the appointment that way. But you also have to think about the reason why you're doing it. Sometimes people do it because they don't want to get on the phones. So you got to understand how to balance your business out. Now you have to recognize what your strengths are, but sometimes your strengths or your perceived weaknesses are weaknesses at the moment because you actually haven't worked that muscle. You haven't tried to improve upon that skill set. So there's nothing wrong with going out door knocking your leads right away. You know, the thing is you probably could catch some people. For me personally, and I used to try to do this too, because when I first got into sales, when I worked in insurance at the last company, like I hated the phones. I hated the phones. I still don't like them now, but I understand it's part of the business. So, but I hated the phone. I hated the way I sounded. I was deathly afraid that like if the client gave me an objection, even though we had a script, if they gave me an objection, I start fumbling and I would get tongue tied and I would feel stupid. Like that was my biggest thing. So it's not even putting in the work. It was just I just felt like I didn't feel very confident with that aspect. So, you know, I go to my manager and I'm like, hey, instead of dialing, I think I'm just going to door knock on my leads. And she's like, okay, well, does that make very much sense? If you can call through first, if you can book a couple appointments, even if you're terrible on the phones, even if you can't book that many appointments, but you have a few that keeps you busy in the field and keeps you out in the field. Because if you go and start door knocking, you're like, you door knock like 10 people. And let's say it's the wrong time of the day where they're not home.
Yeah.
Then you're like, oh, nothing happened today. I'm going to go home. But and this is the way I used to book my appointments. I would know when I'm going to start in the day or when I plan to start and when I plan to end. And I would book those as the bookends. So that would keep me accountable to stay out in the field all in between.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you book like the first two in the first 2 hours, and then afterwards you're like, no one's home. I'm going to go home, which look, we're all adults and we all can make these decisions. But the thing is, for your business, it's terrible.
Yeah.
For your personal life, it might be okay, you know, which it's okay in the respect that, you know, you don't have to work that hard and you get some rest and you get to spend some time doing whatever you want to do. But your personal life will suffer in the back end because of the fact that you're not working effectively or efficiently, and you're not going to be making the money you need to be making. So you're not really growing. So, you know, there's a consequence for everything, all the decisions that we make. So for me personally, Francisco, I would say I would call to them a few times first before you go and door knock them, because the thing is the door knock's still always going to be there.
Yeah.
Even like when clients used to hang up on me, they told me they're not interested. They told me to go to hell. They told me never to come in their house. I still showed up because like, what do you got to lose? You know, you'll always have that lead, you know, but the thing is, if you call and you actually book the appointment, and then let's say these people are interested, I mean, it gives you something to look forward to as you're out there door knocking, gives you something to forward to as you spend your day out there in the field. You know, at least you got something. And when you get to that appointment, and you know, then it switches from, you know, whether or not you close them or not, whether or not you can help them or not. But look, I just want to set up opportunities for myself. And, you know, going back to the whole thing with Esther, you want to break things down into intervals that are, you know, that make it easier to digest throughout the day. You're still doing the same amount of work, but instead of just looking like, all right, I'm going to work 8 hours today, I'm going to work 10 hours today. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I got an appointment coming up, so I just got door knock for a few hours, and I got my appointment. You know, so mentally, it gives us a lot more of you know, an acceptable and, you know, some type of way for us to like look at our business that allows it that makes it, you know, that much more doable seemingly.
Yeah. So like mentally, to answer your question, Francisco, you gotta just consider this. Whatever you're doing, especially with door knocks, is this a shortcut or a supplement? Okay. Are you shortcutting phones because you don't want to dial phones and you want to go strictly door knocking, which some people have done that, right? They can make sales because they feel like they have a stronger sense of like sales and closing on the in person. Yes, you could do that, but is this going to be your main process, then a supplement on top of making phone calls? I say do both. So that's what Albert's mentioning. You want to be proficient. What is the most effective method of reaching as many people as possible? Phones. Because how many persons, if they're home, can you speak and talk to within an hour if you got multiple leads in multiple areas? Now, if you were used to like door knocking door to door and canvassing, man, you can go down the block and do a lot in an hour. But if you're doing 1 hour an appointment or like, you know, a couple of blocks out, you're not really effective, right? So this is where back in our old company, we had our set dial day. So you want to make sure you have a structure and a plan out, okay? So we would have like on Monday our dial day, okay? You dial and consistently dial. You put in the hours, you know, you do your 8 hours, right? You book as much as you can. Our old, our manager, what she taught us, what she did, okay, so this is something you could do if you prefer door knocking. When she does her dials, she makes her first appointment the last appointment. Okay, so if your last time available is like 8 or 9, that's her first booking. And then her second appointment is her first appointment. Okay, so if you're going to start your day at 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 1 p.m. So back in our old school days, we saw a lot of working clients. So our first appointment would be like 1 or 2. So we have an 8 or 9 p.m. and a 1 or 2. And then you slowly fill in the gaps in the middle. And even if you don't have those gaps filled out, well, guess what? You start early and you're finishing late, and you fill in and supplement that with door knocking. But you don't want to just think, oh, I don't have any appointments because I didn't dial enough. And then mentally you're thinking, it's okay, I'm going to door knock them anyways. So now you kind of slacked off dialing. And this is where it's going to start you off in the wrong foot, right? So you want to make sure you have a structure, and then slowly fill in the gaps and supplement your appointment count from the door knocking. But you want to make sure if you do it right, if you book it right, if you have enough leads to dial and call, you shouldn't need to door knock. That's the availability that we have with our leads. I hate door knocking. I hate phone calls, but I hate door knocking more because sometimes it depends on your area. It's hot, clients don't have anything going on. Clients will just have you talking to them in the front porch. You're burning. You got to knock a few times, and next thing you know, they see you through the window. They kind of close the door and walk away. All these things happen too, right? So I could make a couple of door knocks and calls at the same time. And then to answer Esther's question, you could do both too, right? You can make phone calls and you can do door knocks. We used to call it the 2 and 2. So you make 2 calls before you get out of your car for your first door knock. Make your door knock, you get back into your car. Before you take off, you take another 2 phone calls. So now you made 4 phone calls and a door knock at the same time. So make it as efficient as possible. But the name of the game is you're getting in front of people, right? You want to get into kitchen tables or couches. So as long as you figure that out, you can do whatever you want.
Plus, Francisco, I mean, obviously you have experience, door knocking, and it's worked for you in the past. So you're already proficient at that area. So now the thing is, it's time to round out your business because you want to become more profitable. You want to increase your skill set. So and the only way for you to be able to improve at dialing is to dial. There's no other way around it. You can't watch someone else's videos. You can't listen to trainings. You have to just experience it, and you have to mess it up, figure out how you can do that better and just incrementally improve. And that's how, now if I call, I have no problem with it. But when I first started, I was praying people didn't pick up. I was that nervous. So, we just all have to get over it. You have to get over ourselves. And then you realize once you start doing it, it makes us that much better at our business, and allows us to make more money. So just to ask you, Francisco, have you dialed before, or are you good on the phones, or how's all that?
Yeah, I have dialed before, and I did try dialing a few times for a few hours, whenever I can, because I do have to keep working. I have to make money daily. That's why I haven't been able to go full force. But I have tried dialing, for 2-3 hour sessions, and I have been successful in talking to people, scheduling callbacks. I'm trying to do one call closes. I'd like to do all this on the phone. I do have a lot of phone experience with my previous sales jobs. I have sold auto insurance on the phone, incoming calls, as well as health insurance. So, if I could do it all on the phones, I would. I don't have certain things that I need. But yeah, I do have experience on the phones, and ultimately I'd like to all just do telesales 100%. That's my goal. But right now I'm just trying to figure things out, trying to close my first deal just so I can get going. I know that once I close 1 or 2 deals, then I'll be able to go full time. So that's my goal ultimately.
So yeah, I mean, when it comes to dialing, it sounds a little backwards in the way that you're doing. But if you have older leads, you're probably just have to put in more time and actually just call them more frequently. Door knocking would work also in that situation. But for those of you that get stuck on dialing, and you're like, oh, I can't get a hold of these people. It sounds a little backwards, but the thing is, you buy more leads.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You the more leads that you have, the more opportunities you give yourself, and that's the quicker way. And it seems counterproductive because you're like, hey, I haven't even gotten hold of these leads yet. I don't want to spend more money. But the thing is, it's either time or money, whatever you value more. for me, I can always make more money. I can never make more time. I'd rather spend more money. And if you're not in a position to do that, then you got to put in the time. I mean, just understand your position. If you find a way to get more leads, I mean, that's the ideal situation. Solution for everything out there. We just have to just not keep the problem in front of us and make us believe like that's the only thing that's the only way of doing it.
solution. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a couple more minutes for anyone else with any other questions.
Any other quick questions? I mean, we're gonna wrap it up soon. No other questions right now. I mean, write them down for next week as things come up. I mean, this is the way you guys improve. I mean, just you're gonna experience. You might get stuck in certain parts. Ask someone who's already done it. The thing is, even if that's not exactly going to be your answer, the thing is, you'll hear some perspective, and you'll just realize, oh, maybe I can figure this out on my own.
Yeah.
Other people that are ahead of you, they're no better than you. They're only a little bit further ahead of you. That's it. So, John's cute baby's on the screen. But thank you guys for joining us this week. If you guys have any questions, we're looking forward to hearing those questions next week. And let's go out there and let's go be elite, guys. Appreciate you.
Bye, everybody.